City Council meeting to order. March 4th, 2025. We acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish people and pay our respect to those past and present. Tonight's invocation will be provided by Pastor Sam Giles of Living Faith Church. If you could all please stand for the invocation. Oh, I should have asked first. Okay. Well, no worries. We'll just move past that and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Brian, I'm going to let you lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do too. Is that our pastor or no? All right, let's be seated and proceed. This will be both a physical meeting and a virtual meeting. Some members of city staff or consultants may be participating via teleconference. Today's meeting may be viewed on YouTube, Facebook, and following the meeting on cable channel 10 HD 1090. Everyone is present and accounted for except for Councilmember Wittgenstein, who has asked to be excused. May I hear a motion to excuse him? All right, so we have a motion to excuse Councilmember Wittgenstein by Councilmember Romero. Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor, raise your right hand. All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Are there any other suggested changes to the regular agenda? Or are there any suggested changes? I'm sorry, it does say other, though. No changes? All right. If there are none, it is approved as presented. And we will move on to presentations. We do have a presentation tonight. We have Firefighters' Oath of Office. And here to administer that oath is our Fire Chief, Anderson. If you would please step forward and start us off.
You guys want to step up? We'll have you over here. Face, just so they can hear them out. You guys just kind of want to face. Does that work for you, Maggie?
That's perfect.
So I'm just going to read this out and then just say your own name when I do that. And raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Tim Davies,
Solemnly swear to perform my duties.
solemnly swear to perform my duties
As a firefighter of the city of Oak Harbor.
as a firefighter of the city of Oak Harbor
To the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities.
I will serve our firefighters and officers.
I will serve our firefighters and officers
With respect.
with respect,
With dignity.
with dignity,
With honor.
with honor.
I will serve the citizens of Oak Harbor.
I will serve the citizens of Oak Harbor
With courage.
with courage,
With compassion.
with compassion,
With integrity.
with integrity,
Regardless of the consequences.
regardless of the consequences.
I will uphold the laws of the Constitution.
I will uphold the laws of the Constitution
Of the United States of America.
of the United States of America,
The state of Washington.
the state of Washington,
And the city of Oak Harbor.
and the city of Oak Harbor.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, that's it. So I would like to introduce our three firefighters. We got Dylan Hooper, Jack Knighton, and Timothy Davies.
Yeah.
Drag Creighton from your
We'll let our PIO.
All right. We'll just get Okay, you got a little bit closer. All right, ready? 1, 2, and perfect. Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, gentlemen. We appreciate your service. We will take a short break to allow for photos and congratulations. If you want to go and just congratulate everyone, we can come back in 5 minutes, or they're leaving, so maybe not. That's okay. All right, well, we'll move on then to public comments. We will now resume the regular meeting with public comments. Members of the public may comment on consent agenda items or subjects of interest not listed on the agenda at this time. There will also be an opportunity to comment on the remaining agenda items during the meeting as appropriate. Comments on public hearing items will be heard during that portion of the agenda. The public can also visit our website prior to our meetings for methods to submit public comments or contact the city clerk, Julie Nestor, by phone or email. When submitting comments, please include your name and address. Public comments sent anonymously or from a false address will be shared with the mayor and council but will not be displayed. We received several new public comments since our last regular meeting. They are displayed here on the screen. Tim, you have one monitor that's not working over here. I didn't. All right. Are there any members of the public present who wish to speak to items not listed on the agenda or on the consent agenda? If so, the clerk will call your name in order in which you signed in to speak. Please step forward to the microphone and state your name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Mayor, on our list is Debbie O'Brien. Ms. O'Brien, I would ask, is this a different comment than the one that we just displayed on the screen that was sent by you?
Yes and no. I just wanted to kickstart something, a thought.
All right, Ms. O'Brien, please approach the microphone so you can be heard.
Is
and state
here.
Your name and address.
Hi, I'm Debbie O'Brien, and I live in Oak Harbor off of 3rd Street. And I'm here to talk about a few things. One is the dog park at Cloverleaf, 21st Street, technical. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the layout. One side of the dog park is for small dogs, and it's huge and flat. The other side is for large dogs, and it's big, but there's a huge hill. I noticed that the park district is doing wonderful work over there. I mean, I have never seen so much improvement to this dog park. I'm like, yay, because I'm the one out there cutting the blackberry bushes in the summer. Anyways, I would like to address a few people that frequently visit there. And what they do is they go there. I think maybe when no one's there, no one's in the large dog area. And they bring their aggressive dogs there. And they tell other people, you cannot come in here, my dogs are aggressive. And that's kind of crazy to me. I feel like public is a public name. If your dog's too aggressive, it doesn't even belong at the park or near it. I was bit last year, and I know this dog was crazy, and he went through the fence and broke it and bit my finger. There's another group of Huskies. They're digging up all the laid out new work, and we're getting huge mud puddles there now. A lot of this problem, though, however, is not all these people's fault because the signage is wrong. And when I say the signage is wrong, I mean the signage says you must be in view of your dog. That's wrong. If you're out in your car in the rain, you don't want to walk up to another dog and the person is not present in the park. That person needs to be present in the park to be responsible for their dog. And that's a lot of the thing that happened to me last year because this guy couldn't walk to get his dog. So I'm on the ground and he's attacking me and my dog. That wasn't fun. Anyways, there are 19 bullet points at Cloverleaf Valley Park. There's do not bring food, do not train, do not, all these things are for a reason. And then I go to this park that I love so much, but the people are hard. We should have just better rules, signage. You can't just say, you can be in view of your dogs. When the homeless took over.
Ms. O'Brien?
Oh, am I out?
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
That is your time.
I talk a lot, I know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien.
Mayor, that concludes those that signed up to speak in advance.
Okay, great. Is there anybody else that's here with us this evening that would like to come and step forward and speak that did not sign up? All right, hearing no one, we will move on. Thank you so much. Consent agenda. We will now move to the consent agenda. Staff has presented the listed consent agenda items, all of which were included in the meeting packet. Are there any objections or changes to the consent agenda as it's been presented? Hearing none, may I hear a motion to approve? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilmember Marrow. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to mayor's comments. First off, the Wright Blend Coffee and Conversation with the Mayor. Thank you to all who showed up to the February conversation. We discussed homelessness, crime, police tactics, upcoming events, and being recognized as an LGBTQ-friendly community. Our next Wright Blend will be hosted by the Book Rack on Friday, March 21st at 10 a.m. I will be joined by Sophia Cofield, Executive Director of ICOM 911. Come and share your ideas and questions. Community catch-up. Last month, we hosted ICOM 911. Thank you to all presenters. The next will be our second public workshop on the redevelopment of downtown and the waterfront district. Our first workshop this past Thursday was very well attended. The second public workshop will be held on Thursday, April 17th at 6 p.m. Location to be announced. Is that still up in the air, or did we finally decide that's still up in the air? Okay. Please come and share your thoughts and provide feedback on the redevelopment of our city's downtown and waterfront district. All are welcome. Light snacks are planned. Department of Ecology News Spotlight. Speaking of the downtown redevelopment, the Department of Ecology featured our Brownfield grant for environmental cleanup in their February newsletter, noting the redevelopment project will allow the community to replace decades-old aging infrastructure and transform the downtown waterfront into a mixed-use space with projected green space, public art, and recreation. Association of Washington City's WELL City distinction. The city has once again earned this designation, defined as making an outstanding commitment to employees' health. Each 2025 WELL City recipient receives a 2% premium discount on their AWC Employee Benefit Trust Active medical premiums in 2026. While a 2% discount on the medical premiums is significant, the rewards of a healthy workplace can be felt across the organization and have a positive impact on the community as well. A huge thanks to Human Resources and representatives from each city department who serve on the city's Wellness Committee, helping to plan and promote healthy activities and events. Congratulations to Oak Harbor High School drama students. A record-breaking 18 Oak Harbor High School drama students competed in 32 events of the International Thespian Excellence Awards. 9 students earned the prestigious Superior Rating in 11 solo, duo, and group events, qualifying them to compete at the International Thespian Festival in June at Indiana University. 17 students received excellent ratings, showcasing their exceptional talent across various categories. Students who achieved superior or excellent ratings will be recognized at the state festival. National League of Cities in Washington, D.C. trip. City Administrator Combs and I will travel to meet with our legislators in Washington, D.C. Deputy City Administrator Goldman and Grants Administrator Horn will be attending the NLC conference with us. At this time, I will turn it over to council for their comments. Councilmember Stuckey.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I really appreciate when people go through the proper channels to request things. Some shout outs. There was the gentleman who asked about the sidewalks, and our city engineer just went ahead, emailed them back with some responses. I'm sure the same will happen too with the dog park. But for those of you who have a concern, if you go onto the website, oakharbor.gov, there's a How Do I Report a Concern link. For example, there were some people on social media talking about potholes, one next to Hagen's, and it was suggested they fill out the link. I just found it's already been filled. Is that correct? Yeah. So, a lot of people are saying, we need this pothole filled. It was within 48 hours of one person filling out that form. So to the public that may have concerns that are within the city's purview, I just encourage you to fill out that How Do I Report a Concern on our website, because staff is extremely responsive when we go through those processes. So thank you, staff, and thank you for those that take the time to fill it out.
Thank you, Councilmember Stuckey. Councilmember Wiesner.
Yeah, and a little follow-up on that. It was pretty exciting Thursday night in here to see a absolutely packed room, standing room only, and people interacting. It was for those who couldn't attend, there was actually an action capability on your phone where you could give real live time input, and everybody could see that input as it was being generated. So, you know, I'm gonna guess, how many chairs do we have sitting out front? Probably 60, so there's probably 80, 100 people in here?
I know that Maggie and I were talking about it earlier, and she said something around approximately 70 people were in
Yeah.
the room, so.
Yeah, so about, great turnout. We're going to have some more of these. This is the opportunity, right, to be one of those folks that actually help provide input on what something is going to look like, rather than come back years from now and say, oh, well, why did it end up that way, right? So we're really doing our best at trying to give everybody who wants to provide input, provide it, and thus the multiple meetings and the multiple locations. So, you know, if you weren't able to attend the first meeting, April 17th, 6 o'clock, we'll let you know location, but we want people here, we want to hear it, and I thought that was just an exciting night, and look forward to a couple more of those. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Wiesner, and that is why we're looking to go to a different venue so that we can have more people and attend and participate. So, anybody else for the good of the order before we move on? Nope, okay. We have no public hearings and meetings, so we will skip that and move on to ordinances and resolutions. We have Resolution 2506, a resolution of the City of Oak Harbor, State of Washington, declaring support for the preservation of federal tax exemption of municipal bonds. And here to introduce that topic is our Deputy City Administrator and Finance Director, David Goldman.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This item is for the preservation of the federal tax exemption for municipal bonds, Resolution 2506. So currently, Congress is debating a tax and budget bill, and as part of the process that it entails, they're using something called reconciliation, which means that it avoids a filibuster in the Senate. So you just need a simple majority to pass that type of bill. In order to do that, they need to be able to have like a net zero increase in costs. So one of the things that we're talking about was extending the tax cuts that were passed in 2017 beyond their expiration, which was this year. And in order to do that, you know, there's a cost to that. In order to do that, Congress will be looking for offsets. And one of the items that they had discussed was potentially eliminating the tax exemption for municipal bonds as one of the pay-fors for that extension of those taxes. So let's just get into what a municipal bond is. So what are tax-exempt municipal bonds? They were first written into the tax code in 1913, and they have their roots in Supreme Court cases dating all the way back to 1813. These are debt securities that are issued by state and local governments to fund public projects. These bonds are unique because the interest earned by investors is typically exempt from federal income tax and is often exempt from state and local income tax as well. This tax-exempt status makes the bonds very attractive to investors. It allows state and local governments to borrow at lower interest rates. And the savings from these lower interest rates are passed along to the communities, allowing cities to stretch their dollars further. By reducing borrowing costs, tax-exempt bonds makes it easier for cities and towns to invest in long-term public projects that improve the quality of life, spur economic growth, and build stronger communities. So the preservation of this tax exemption that's been around for well over 100 years is the #1 priority for the National League of Cities. They're important because communities rely on tax-exempt bonds as a critical tool to fund roads, bridges, police stations, firehouses, water treatment plants, and much more. You know, these projects are vital to the well-being of communities across the country. They make these large-scale projects financially feasible. You know, instead of cities and towns and special districts and school districts and port districts and you name it, relying solely on limited budgets or raising taxes, the cities can use the tax-exempt bonds to obtain funds needed for major improvements at a lower cost. Without tax-exempt municipal bonds, small and rural cities will be at a severe disadvantage in funding critical infrastructure and projects that are under $50 million, would struggle to secure affordable housing, and that would leave local governments with few options, raise taxes, cut essential services, or forego those projects altogether. So, according to the research that was done by the National League of Cities, in 2023 alone, nearly $400 billion in new municipal bonds were issued, resulting in all those public improvements we talked about before, like new roads, safer bridges, and so on. If preserved, the tax exemption on the municipal bonds, these bonds will finance another $3 trillion in infrastructure and investments by 2031, supporting thousands of projects, helping uncountable communities throughout the country, and creating thousands of jobs. Tax-exempt municipal bonds are also an essential funding mechanism after disasters. And the elimination of this tax exemption, and I'll show you what this looks like on slides coming up in the next few minutes. Without this tax exemption, this would raise borrowing costs for cities, towns, counties, special districts throughout the country by $824 billion. And that cost would be passed on to the to American residents in the amount, based on the research, of $6,554 a tax increase for every American household over the next decade. So this chart here from the research shows the amount of construction, the value of construction from state and local governments in the blue line. This pointer's not working. So that blue line on the top, that's the value in millions of dollars from state and local governments per year. And the bottom yellow line, that's kind of flat near the bottom, that's the amount of federal construction built by the federal government. Going all the way back to, it looks like 2003, that's $200 billion of construction was put in place by state and local governments. And you could see that every year it just escalates from there. And state and local government dwarfs the amount of construction that's done by the federal government. This slide here shows per year, sorry about that, per year the savings from 2026 on to 2031 of the tax exemption, and the total aggregate savings is about $824 billion. This is a graphic of that previous chart. The area that's in the hash, that's on top of the solid blue, is the extra cost that would be added on to all municipal projects, or would have to be borrowed, for all municipal projects. It's almost double. Almost double the amount of money would need to be borrowed, or at least need to be paid back. Sorry, not borrowed, but paid back in the form of debt if the tax exemption would go away. And that's mostly because of the difference in the interest rate that would have to be offered if the tax exemption went away. This next slide shows the same data from the previous two slides, but in a cumulative manner. So the first year there, 2026, shows how much the difference would be in the first year, and every year after that, it just accumulates the amount of money that would have to be added to the debt payments for municipal debt if the tax exemption went away. And this example here is something I put together to help better contextualize what that would look like for something that maybe Oak Harbor would be interested in doing in the future. Let's say, for example, let's say a city needed to take out a $10 million bond for a hypothetical project with a 30-year lifespan. So in order to match the lifespan of the project, that city took out a bond matching that life, a 30-year bond. So at, I don't want to say today's rates, but at the rates a couple weeks ago when I put this report together, a 30-year municipal bond rate was at 3.89%. And then based on the GFOA, that's the Government Finance Officers Association Built by Bonds research, the difference between a taxable and tax-exempt municipal bond is 210 basis points, or 2.1%. So when you take that 3.89%, add 2.1% to it, you get 5.99%. And I simply just ran an amortization schedule, not the kind you do in a house. On your mortgage, you pay every month. For cities, we pay twice a year. but I just ran an amortization schedule on what that would look like over 30 years of those two different interest rates. And I'll tell you, the debt payment currently right now on 3.89% over 30 years would be $567,723 every year, twice a year. So it would be half of that twice a year. And then without the tax exemption, that payment would be $721,855. If you count up all the interest paid on those two loans, you get the difference that you see right there in the chart. Currently, the amount of interest paid on that loan would be about $7 million. If the tax exemption would be to disappear, the interest would skyrocket up to $11.7 million, be actually more than the $10 million you borrowed. And if you just do simple math, that over the other one, that's 65% higher. So it would be a massive impact to our borrowing needs and to what we need, what we just need to do to just keep up with our infrastructure and do all the things that we had talked about in the previous meetings that we had on major projects that we have coming on. So with that said, we have a motion on the screen there, and we're available to field any questions you have.
Thank you, David. I will at this time confirm that we received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
Great. And is there anyone that is here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on this issue? All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions or comments at this time. Hearing none, I would entertain, yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
Well, I was going to make the motion.
Okay.
I was also going to say, thank you for keeping track of these sort of things and informing them on us, because it is a big deal, and we're looking at taking out bonds and things. So, I'd like to make the motion to approve Resolution 25-06, encouraging the Washington State Congressional Delegation to support the City of Oak Harbor, Washington, by preserving, protecting, and ensuring the tax-exempt status of municipal bonds.
Second.
So we have a motion as presented by Councilmember Stuckey, seconded by Councilmember Wiesner. Before I call for a vote, is there any further discussion? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment. I was looking over the letter of support that was in the packet that's going to be sent to our representatives, and anyway, it's really comprehensive and included the hyperlinks and everything, so just thank you for putting that together, and hopefully we get a positive response.
Great. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next, we move on to contracts and agreements, and we have the Northeast 7th Avenue Reconstruction Spending Authority. And here to introduce that is our Public Works Director, Steve Schuler, and City Engineer, Alex Warner. Or just Alex.
All right, thanks, Mayor. Steve is here in the audience if we need him to assist at any time. And yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Good? Oh, there we go. I was looking at the wrong screen. Here, we'll go back here. So this is a request to increase our construction contingency for the Northeast 7th Avenue reconstruction project. So first of all, I just want to say that we're already receiving positive community feedback on this project. We've been able to accomplish a lot of improvements through this corridor. We're already seeing it utilized. I'm very proud of what we've been able to do. And I just want to, give credit to everybody that's worked on this project, including council, mayor, previous staff. This has been a project that has had a long and challenging history. So recently, we began construction August of this last year. As soon as we brought our contractor on board, we had a pre-construction meeting, site visits, and some design issues and design flaws were noticed. Some fairly basic things such as water services were missing from the work shown. There was unclear constructability for the roadway, curb elevations, mechanically earth-stabilized wall for the path. There's some conflicting information for the water improvements and the roadway. We didn't have a whole lot of support from the engineering consultant at the time. They actually were going through a process of no longer being a functioning entity and had staff departures. So we really were, having to figure this out from the beginning with our contractor and our construction management staff, making the best decisions we can make each day as those challenges were presented. Further challenging this project was just the location of it. There's a documented wetland on both sides of the project, and as I'm sure most of you know, you start digging around that, you don't know what you're going to find or how deep the muck is going to go. So we plan, for uncertainty, but sometimes these things just take more work. You want to remove as much of that unsuitable material. It requires additional import material, so your quantities increase, your costs increase. I do want to say these changes we made were necessary. We were going off script from the start, but we wanted to have a finished product that would be beneficial to the community for many years to come. So detailing some of these project change orders, again, we had a constructability issue when we have this shared use path requires a wall. There's a curb and gutter. How are we connecting it to this wall? We had to make some changes, beef it up a bit. Then you have the required Americans with Disability Act, and that's with the federal and the state funding. Local funding too, but we had to make more design changes to ensure we're meeting those requirements. And then again, we wanted a solid finished product with the roadway base. We wanted to have a consistent, smooth surface that would last many years. And then, a not quite as obvious part of this project, but we started with about a month of replacing the entire asbestos cement water main and all new water connections. And those things are in place, and those are projected to last another 75 years. So we didn't want to miss any of that infrastructure, hydrants and services to the businesses and residents on this street. So again, this is a long and challenging project. I'd say it's over 20 years in the making. I believe some council members were here 15 years ago when we had funding in place. We had grant funding and we had to return it due to other pressing needs at the time. So we were able to, in the last 5 years or so, bring the project back to life, reobtain some of those grants. But, not too long ago, I believe is when Steve Schuler started here, we had a $7.5 million project with only $1.2 million in funding. So how do you close the gap? How do you make this a reality to something we can actually build? So we really started to had to make tough decisions, refine the scope, avoid impacts to the right-of-way, which are costly, so fit it in with the existing footprint of the roadway, avoid those costly wetland impacts that would require mitigation. We were able to do that, and at the same time, we went out for additional grant funding with the State Transportation Improvement Board. We got another request and award from the IRTPO through our surface transportation block grants. So we gained an additional $1 million while we were refining that scope down to a $2.5 million project. Also during that time, we had gone out for grant fundings for other planned roadway projects, such as the West Whidbey Avenue paving project that had a Transportation Improvement Board grant. And then with council and mayor's help, we had the Fakima Access Road negotiation to save some funds, and we're able to use some transportation impact funds that would have been used on that project, on this project with the expanded bike and pedestrian improvements. I could go into more details about difficulties. There's 6 PPD Quinone that suddenly became a national issue, and going through the National Environmental Protection Agency process. Let me know and I can go into more detail if you like. So where are we today? Our original contract amount was $2.01 million. Council approved a 20% contingency. Thank you for that. To give our total spending authority for us at Public Works is $2.41 million. Well, through the Public Works Director and the Mayor, that's our authority. Our total spent to date is $2.265 million. However, we expect there's about $260,000 of remaining work. So what we're projecting right now is we are going to go over the approved spending authority by about $100,000. This project has presented surprises left and right, so I've included here a hefty risk amount for the remaining work as well of $88,000. So we're asking to increase the spending authority to $2.61 million, which equates to a 10% additional construction contingency on top of the previously approved 20% contingency. So again, with these contingencies, we only spend what is necessary. We've already been in contact with our granting agencies for the Fed and the state funds, and we've gotten positive feedback that they will be covering their grant-funded portion of that work. So we would be participating in the local share of that additional work. And again, we're asking you to trust us to do our best to deliver this project through the completion with these added funds. So I just want to highlight, this was a picture taken just a couple weeks ago. Again, it's already being utilized. If you guys, I'm sure you remember what used to be out there were some goat trails that were 6 inches off of the roadway, very narrow, underperforming pedestrian facilities. We had motorized wheelchairs that were going down the travel lanes. We had, children walking to school every single day, and they had no facilities. So we've got this safe pathways, more facilities for bicycles, all the water infrastructure. And again, we made some tough decisions, but we wanted to have a good project that will last for many years to come. And I'm sure you guys have seen the additional housing that we have out at Oak Harbor, on Oak Harbor Street, the apartments and townhomes. So this is only going to be utilized more and more over the coming years. So with that, I'd recommend this motion. And again, we are looking to have this increased authority so we can complete the construction of this project, close it out, and move on to the next one.
Alex, thanks for that great presentation. And again, thank you for all your hard work on this. I know I've met with Steve Schuler a few times, and we've had discussions about the trials and tribulations that you guys have gone through on this project. So you guys have done a great job. And unfortunately, with the engineering firm that we were using at the time, there were just a lot of things that weren't panned out the way we expected them to be. So, but we've turned lemons into lemonade, so you guys have done a good job. So thank you for that. So with that, I will confirm that we've received no public comment on this issue.
That's correct, Mayor. No public comments were received.
All right, great. And is there anyone that is here with us this evening that would like to step forward and make public comment on this issue? All right, hearing none, I will call upon council for their questions and comments. Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Alex and Steve and the rest of staff. I used to live in an apartment in that area, and my life flashed before my eyes every time I had to walk up and down 7th. So I cannot tell you how pleased I am just to see the current. It's 1,000% better than it was. And I'm curious about where the current status of the project is in terms of physical construction and completeness. If you get this extra $200,000-ish, what specifically is going to be done with it, and when can we expect a completed project, and what will that look like?
Okay, yeah, great questions there. So with the construction and progress payments, we haven't fully accepted some of the work that's out there right now. So that, we have some hardscaping that we need to pay for. Then the contractor needs to come back and do final striping of the roadway, do some improvements to the flashing crosswalk signs that need a little bit of attention there. Some landscaping that's remaining and some signage. So it's kind of those finishing touches. We've heard that they're looking to get back within the month to pending, proper weather. Good weather windows for the striping and those things. But yeah, we're hoping, in the next month or two to be done with this project.
Okay, so physically, the project is essentially complete. We're just closing out a few things. Like, people aren't going to see any major changes between now and completion in a month, other than signage and striping and stuff.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, the major infrastructure is complete. We don't expect too much more impacts, though they'll need to bring flaggers out and, have proper safety in place. But it's really those finishing touches that we're looking to complete here.
Okay. Good. Considering the history of the project and the issues that have come up, all I kept thinking was God, it could be so much worse. So I actually think that you guys have done a tremendous job with what you have. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Anybody else for the good of the order? Yes, Councilmember Stuckey.
Assume the money's in the budget somewhere for this?
Ping pong. I would say that we have sufficient funding through the granting and local funding sources.
So this will be included in a future budget amendment. So in order to actually fund the budget amendment, we can look at grants or we can look at impact fees. We do have transportation impact fees available for this as well. Steve, you have something? He's whispering. This might take a minute.
Alex will tell you. No, about the feds and the states, are still waiting to hear from them.
Alex will give you more detail on the grants.
Yes, so we've been in discussion with WashDOT local programs, and they've already approved the change orders. They've told us that they're going to cover those added costs with the federal share of 86.5%. We still need to have conversations with the Transportation Improvement Board at the state, but I have heard that they understand these changes happen in construction, and they're willing to, have these conversations to increase the cost for the grant funding.
Well, that's good news. But to spend more funding, we would have to bring it back as an appropriation, but at least we have grant funding to cover it then.
Okay. And the second question is, this additional 10%, are we confident that's going to cover it and it's not going to be a month from now we'd need another 5% or so? I mean, I know that's a loaded question, but I'm just saying, do you need approved for more? Because I'd rather do it once than twice.
This is why I included the risk line item in our request, because there has been some uncertainty on this project. So I feel comfortable with the 10% contingency increase, and I do not expect we'll need to come back to ask for more money.
All right.
Can't guarantee that.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember Stuckey. Anybody else for the good of the order? Yes, Councilmember Romero.
I've been down Northeast 7th, that section before and after, and I reflect on it and I see innovative engineering and skill in putting the answer together and executing it. As a matter of fact, I was reflecting on the fact that you did the pathway in asphalt, and I said, well, there's real wisdom in that, and I would ask that you would maybe comment on the cost difference between, say, reinforced poured concrete sidewalks and adaptive use of asphalt and curbs.
Sure. I was looking at that actually more from a longevity and constructability standpoint, more than just a cost perspective. We have the wetland soils that are underlying that. We removed as much as we could. But the idea was, rather than put in a concrete, rebar reinforced retaining wall with concrete path that is extremely rigid, which after several months is going to start cracking just from the differential sediment of those wetland soils. We decided to do what's called a mechanically earth-stabilized wall, where you build up material, soils, and rock. You fold back this geotextile fabric. It's like a burrito, so it's allowed to move. And then the asphalt is what we call flexible pavement, so it actually can move with the soils. And, you know, perhaps the ride is going to change a little bit over the years, but, you know, that should last quite a bit longer than the rigid concrete. From a cost, I would say in the range of, you know, a factor of 3 to 5 when it comes from doing asphalt pavement to concrete.
Thank you very much. I would just mention that I would hope that property owners would understand that the cost effectiveness of concrete poured sidewalks in contrast with this very effective use of asphalt, that they might be more flexible about what they're trying to demand when they, you know, are looking for a place for walkers and riders for that matter. But anyway, this is really outstanding work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Romero. Anybody else for the good of the order? Hearing, yes, Councilmember Wiesner.
I move to authorize City Council to approve additional 10% contingency for the Northeast 7th Avenue Reconstruction Project in the amount up to $201,156.58, increasing the total construction spending authority from $2,413,878.92 to $2,615,035.50.
Second.
We have a motion as presented, second by Councilmember Wiesner, seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Is there any further discussion before I call for a vote? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you all. All right, there being no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by Councilmember Romero, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor, raise your right hand. Then we're adjourned.